60% mental and 40% physical.
Math was never our strong suit, but breaking down Ohio State football is. Sit back and join us for Buckeye Grove Instant Access, part of the Unscripted Ohio Podcast Network.
You can do it!
Brought to you by BuckeyeGrove.com. Post-game thoughts, immediate analysis, and much, much more to put the big game into perspective. Without any further delay of game, here's your host, Kevin Noon.
Kevin, goddammit.
Hey, welcome to the BIA podcast. I am your host, Kevin Noon. I will be joined here shortly with our new analyst, Justin Whitlatch. It'd be great if we had some football to talk about. We seem to be working that way. That's a conversation for another day, another time on whether or not we're going to have a season. But, for now, we're really excited to be able to introduce our new analyst, Justin Whitlatch, who is now part of the Buckeye Grove family. And, as I bring Justin online, Justin, congratulations for being part of our family here. We've already debuted your first piece a couple weeks ago. You got a new one coming up. Welcome.
Well, I appreciate that, Kevin. I'm really excited to join the team, and I'm really excited to really get to know the program in and out and be able to study Ryan Day and his program. So it's a really good opportunity. I'm ready to learn from you and the team, and I'm excited.
For the sake of full disclosure, whenever we have these analysis pieces, 20 years ago, I would have been right there and, knowing every single little bit of term, but every term that's used in it. But as I look at these things now, it may as well be Greek to me. I mean, how did you get involved in all of this analysis, really being a savant in terms of, football theory and whatnot? I've had the opportunity to go through and read your Twitter account at length, and you probably have forgotten more today than I know about this type of theory stuff.
Yeah, that's a big reason, and actually my wife would agree. Anytime I send her an article that I've wrote or anything that I've done, she'll text me back or tell me that she has no idea what any of those are saying. So you're right there with her. But I got into it. I would say back when I was a kid, my dad is a high school football coach. He was a defensive coordinator when I was growing up. And a lot of my memories growing up were on the field or in the classroom when he was teaching the X's and O's part of it. That's kind of where I got my start with the analysis and really being passionate about it, about the game of football. So I probably credit my dad to a big part of it because he's a savant just like myself. He doesn't have a Twitter, social media, anything like that, but that dude's forgotten more football than I can ever remember as well. So he's a big reason I got into it, and it's a big reason I still do it today.
Yeah, it sounds like we need to get your dad a comp account to Buckeye Grove and let him sound off at times too. Maybe put you in check at some points if.
Exactly. He's a big Buckeyes guy as well, so he'd be right there with us.
Well, we will talk about that offline after we're done with this show. So You talk about growing up around all of this and whatnot, but maybe a little bit more about your background of how you got involved with all of this.
Yeah, so I'm from Canal, Winchester, Ohio, so south of Columbus. Grew up there, went to high school there and played ball there as well. And I was a 2-year starter, and then got into college. That's where I got into the really heavy into the scheme and analysis. I went to Capital University where I was a student assistant under Craig Candido. He was a former Navy quarterback, ran the triple option, and he let me kind of be around the program as much as I wanted to be and help out as much as I wanted to be. And I credit him to really learning what football is and the ins and outs of X's and O's. He's a big reason that I know what I know today because I was able to sit in on his assistants meetings and be able to sit in on his offensive line coaches meetings as well. So I got to learn offense not just from a quarterback perspective because that's what I played, but I got to learn it from every single position. That's really where I came into the Wing T Twitter account that I created. Now it's all 22 breakdown, but it's the college aspect is where when I was a student assistant is really where I learned the game of what I know today. That's a big part of why I got into it. I really fell in love with the X's and O's and knowing that all 11 guys have a responsibility and assignment, and they have to be able to do it, or the play and scheme's not going to work. So I definitely credit my experience as a student assistant, and then also as a coach as well. I coached at Canal, Winchester, and Upper Arlington, where I was a quarterback's coach, and I was in the OC at Canal for a little while. So I credit me getting into the scheme and analysis part of it to my coaching background and my father as well.
When you look at offensive football and defensive football, I mean, there seems to be so many more terms and whatnot out there. But, between today and then maybe when you were playing and just maybe even what you were growing up with, I mean, how much would you say football has changed? Is it just that we've given everything new nomenclature or whatnot, or are we really seeing the game go through just some major evolutions?
I think football is a circle. I think we fall in love with the scheme, like let's say the spread, and then we kind of fall out of love with it. And then here comes the power I or the wing T, and then we fall in love with that, and then we fall out of love. So I think it's football's a circle. We see schemes pop up every now and then they kind of die. I don't think the game's changed at all. I just think we evolve every single year, and coaches evolve with the talent and the kids that they have. So the game's definitely getting faster, and that's why you're seeing a ton of teams on the spread. I think it's getting much faster than the game ever used to be, and I think that's why coaches really utilize space. So I don't know if it's more the talent has caused, or the talent and the personnel has caused coaches to change, or it's just coaches are falling in and out of love with schemes. So it's definitely a tricky question, but I definitely think football hasn't really changed. I think, like you said, I think terminology gets changed from coach to coach, and that's where people get confused on, well, is this a new term? Is this a new scheme? What is this? I think it's more of coaches using their own verbiage, and that's a big reason why I think you see that today.
Shifting gears a little bit, let's talk a little bit on Ryan Day. Ryan Day comes into the Ohio State program, replaces, not directly replacing Tom Herman. There was the Tim Beck, Ed Warner years in there, but he comes in very much of an offensive-minded guy, then steps in as head coach upon Urban's departure, leads the team to a 13-1 record last season. What are your thoughts on Ryan Day as somebody who really looks, at the analytical parts of things and whatnot? What are some of your primary takeaways?
Yeah, so I definitely, since joining your team, I've definitely got to look very much into Ryan Day and who he is as a head coach, and then as an offensive coach. And I think coming down to it and really realizing he's very simple compared to other coaches that I've studied. It looks complex when you're watching on Saturdays, but a lot of the concepts that Ryan runs are fairly simple. Everybody else runs, but he's able to change the format and the look of it with formations, with different personnel groupings. And I think that's the brilliance of him, is he's able to present an offense differently on each Saturday. But for his kids, nothing changes. They run the same 6-7 passing concepts, same 3 or 4 running concepts. He's just able, as a head coach, to present it differently. And I think that's why you're seeing you saw his offense explode this year. He was able to dictate matchups in the passing game as well, and you see different guys playing different positions, and that's a big reason he was able to dictate matchups as well. So I would say the biggest thing I came up with after really getting into Ryan Day is he's very simple on what he wants from an offensive and defensive perspective, and he was able to get that out of his guys. I'm getting ready to release that defensive piece, and what I came to a conclusion there, same thing on that side of the ball, is he wants to be simple, he wants to be aggressive, he wants to sit in a one high, and he wants to attack the defense. He wants to really give each 11 guys on the defense side of the ball one responsibility, but they've got to be able to do it full speed, 4 to 6 ADB, like they always talk about. And that's the biggest conclusion I came to Ryan Day, is he's very simple. His kids understand what he wants from them. They understand the responsibility each and every snap, and that's not the norm. You see a lot of Saturdays that coaches love to run a ton of different schemes, and their kids just don't play as fast as they should be, or they're not developed as much as they should be. So I credit him to being really simple, but he's able to show the offense in a different light every single week. So that's the biggest conclusion I've come up with him so far. I know I'm going to spend weeks and weeks and years being able to study him, so I'll have a better understanding maybe in a year from now. But studying him for the past, 2-3 months, that's some of the stuff I've came up with on him.
And we'll continue talking about Ryan Day here on the other side of the break. We got a lot of questions there, and I'm joined here with Justin Whitlatch. My name is Kevin Noon. You're listening to the BIA podcast, and we'll be back in just 30 seconds. Egg Water Conditioning has been treating well in city water in Central Ohio with American-made water filtration products for over 60 years. Have a water quality problem? The water treatment experts at Hague know how to solve it. Not sure if your water softener is working? They will test, inspect, and sanitize any brand of water softener for only $20. Schedule a system checkup or water test today by calling 614-836-2195 or visit them online at HagueH2O.com. That's HAGUE H2O.com. Welcome back. We're going to get right back to it with Justin Whitlatch as we talk a little Ohio State football theory and whatnot. So now that you've stepped into this role and you're a student of the game as much as anybody, you're constantly learning. What are some of the things that maybe you're most excited to learn about Ohio State this season?
I'm really excited to learn more on the defensive side of the ball. And I think it comes at a good time when Ryan Day just made a new hire with Kerry as his DC. Kerry comes from a program with the Titans where they utilize a ton of different blitz concepts and a lot of different fronts that they use. And I think that it'll definitely be a big part of Ohio State defense this year because Tennessee played both 1 and 2 high. So I'm really excited to see how Kerry's going to fit because I know Ryan Day wants to be a 1 high 4-4 cover 3. But I think Kerry's going to have a really big influence on what they do this year. And I'm excited to see some of some pretty cool blitz concepts that Kerry can bring from Tennessee because they're probably one of the number 1, 2 best teams in the league with different blitz concepts that they utilize, and they're really successful at it. So I think that's a big thing I'm excited to learn about this year is how they're going to change their philosophy a little bit on defense and what they're going to run. And I'm also really excited to see the concepts that Ryan's going to use with Fields in year 2. I'm hoping we're going to see a lot of the same concepts we saw with Haskins, things like the mesh, 4 verts, things like that. I think that's going to be a big part of their offense again this year. Because I think in year 2 he's going to be able to trust Fields a little bit more with full field reads. Because it seemed like this past year Fields was more of a one side of the field, or he had a one defender read in the passing game. So I think he's going to be able to trust Justin more this year and throw some more concepts at him. So I would say those are 2 things I'm really excited to see unfold this year in 2020.
The next question that I was prepared to ask, you'd already kind of touched upon in terms of maybe some of the simplicity that people don't see in terms of, it's not that Ryan Day brings 6 binders full of plays. And, I liken it to a story of I had an opportunity to talk to Mike Leach when he was still at Texas Tech. And I had the opportunity too to talk to Cliff Kingsbury when he was quarterback under Mike Leach. And there was just this misconception that the playbook was 14 inches thick and whatnot.
Right.
But, what might surprise people most about Ohio State's schemes and whatnot from your initial study, maybe outside of just some of the simplicity that people don't see or maybe that they do see?
I think the one thing that surprised me the most defensively, I'll go defensively because I think it really caught my eye and it surprised me, is they were able to play guys in different positions and have responsibilities that they're not really used to playing. So you'll see in the article soon, and I won't get into too much detail, but for example, their outside linebackers in the passing game are responsible for the flats, and their safety is responsible, let's say, for the deep third. They were able this year to flip those guys and those responsibilities, and you saw it a ton in the Clemson game. And I'm definitely going to be giving examples of those in the articles to come. But I was really surprised that the defense was able to have guys play some different positions and show a different look. But in the end, it's still the same 4-4 cover 3. So I don't know if that makes sense to you, but they were able to flip guys into different positions and have them play a different role that they're used to. But it's the same simple scheme they've been running all year, which is that 4-4 cover 3 look, but they were able to present it, like I kind of talked about earlier, in different ways. And I think it really confused defenses because they all of a sudden would see Warner at, let's say, safety, and they'd be like, I haven't seen that before. What's coming at me? So you're making a quarterback pre-snap think about, I haven't seen this look. I haven't prepared for it in practice. I'm going to have no idea once this ball snaps what I'm going to see. So I think I was most surprised about that this past year. Offensively, like I talked about, I I was just really surprised at how simple and honestly, I was really surprised how they got guys to play different positions like they did on the defensive side of the ball and understand what the route concept is and be able to run different routes than they're used to. So it seems like the receivers have to learn every position. It seems like, which that can be a tough sell. But he was able to get the matchups that he wanted to dictate. So I was really surprised that they were able to plug guys in and out of different positions and really not skip a beat. So I want to study more on the offensive side of the ball on how they got some of their slot receivers to play extra Z, which is their outside, and they got their tight ends to play off the ball and run different route concepts. But in the end, it's the same route concept like mesh or snag, things like that. So those are a couple of things that I really came away surprised of.
You know, as we sit here, first week of July, going into the second week of July, we can't make any predictions on what a season is going to look like in terms of 12 games, full travel, non-conference, conference, whether we see a 10-game, 8-game conference schedule only, if we see a season that starts and maybe stops down midway through. That's again, for another conversation, another date, another time. But if the season goes off, let's just say hypothetically that we get, either a 10-game conference schedule or a 12-game full schedule, just based on, some of the things that you've seen and looking at 2019 tape, knowing personnel, any expectations, any predictions you might want to throw out there?
Yeah, I think in college football, you go as your head coach and your quarterback goes. And I think Ohio State's got two of the best in the country. So I don't see them, again, skipping a beat in 2020. I think it's all really going to depend on the Oregon game, which hopefully, again, like you said, we're going to be playing. But Oregon's going to have some different experience. They're going to have some problems of their own. So I think you go as your quarterback and you go as your head coach go. And I think we've got two of the best in the country. So and they've got quite a bit of athletes returning. So I think it's going to be a monster year again, in my opinion.
You've only been with us here at Buckeye Grove for a month, and I'm going to throw you right into the fire with this one right now. If you had a direct line to Ryan Day and the rest of the coaching staff, and you could suggest, one or two little things or whatnot, what would they be?
So I've been thinking about this one for a while. I've really been, even last night before bed when you sent me some of the questions we're going to talk about, I was really thinking about how I'm going to answer that. But after study on offense, I would suggest using the tight end a little bit more in the zone game in the RPOs. I think Ohio State did a really good job of using them, cutting off the backside and not letting the backside DN or outside linebacker make the play. But I think Fields is in year two. I think we can really get our tight ends matched up on some linebackers that they're going to win in the RPO game, and I think that gives Fields and the running back a lighter box to use in the run game. So I'm hoping they use their tight end a little bit more in the RPO game off their inside and outside zone, but maybe they have other plans. But that would be my one suggestion, is to really use their tight end to dictate numbers in the running game. So I'm hoping they do that. I think they could do it a couple of different ways, but I'm hoping to see that this year.
Yeah, from your lips to God's ears. I can't tell you how many years, and I've been around this team for the most part from 1989 on. There was 6 years that I worked in other markets, and this is going to be the year. It's going to the year of the tight end. No, this is going to be the year of the tight end. Well, we really haven't gotten there yet, but they certainly have a talented tandem with Luke Farrell and with Jeremy Ruckert, and that's not taking anything away from Cade Stover, who's made the move over from D-line to tight end, and Jake Hausman. So it'll be interesting to see if that's a nice little wrinkle we see there. But as we're getting close to the 20-minute mark, it's going to be time to start wrapping it up. Any final thoughts you have here on your debut mission here on the BIA podcast?
No, honestly, I'm really excited, and I'm hoping we have a 2020 because I'm ready to get into more film, and I'm ready to learn from Ryan Day, because I really think he's one of the best in the country on scheming up defenses. Every defense this year had trouble being able to. I know we've got the most talent in the Big Ten. We've got a ton of talent compared to everybody else in the country, but I really do think he does a good job of scheming defenses up. So I'm really excited to learn more from him, and then also to learn how the defense is going to change with Coombs at the helm at DC. So those are some of my final thoughts. I'm really excited to work for you, Kevin. I really appreciate you letting me be a part of it.
Oh, and I really appreciate you joining us here. I think this is going to be the first of many great and educational podcasts that we'll have in conjunction with all of your other pieces that you'll be providing here at Buckeye Grove. And, we will, delve into those as those come up. But for now, we're going to call an end to this edition of the BIA Buckeye Grove Instant Access podcast. For Justin Whitlatch, I'm your host, Kevin Noon. We are looking forward to talking to you again here very soon.
Be sure to stay up to date with Buckeye Grove Instant Access when the news breaks or after the big game, exclusively at BuckeyeGrove.com or anytime on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher as part of the Unscripted Ohio Podcasts Network. Hit that subscribe button so you can stay in the know and never miss a single episode.